right, She Slayers. This is another episode of She Slays the Day, and we are recording this on March 26th because all of the content that I had prepped for March doesn't talk about coronavirus, and that would just seem weird and irrelevant. So I thought about like some content that would actually be helpful, some things that I'm personally going through. And so I reached out to a good friend who you guys have all met a couple times, Megan Sandby from episode 10. Hey, Megan. You can say
hello. Hi.
Were you waiting for the thanks for being on the show, Megan?
No, a little bit. I was like, oh man, how do I respond now? Think of something clever.
No. So Megan and I are going to have a conversation around kind of keeping your self-care routine during this time where there's so many changing factors, and you might just want to say, who gives a fuck? I mean, I don't know. I'm speaking for them. Obviously, I am being amazing.
Of course, everybody is.
Yeah, everyone's being great. We're all asking hypothetical questions about
just in case.
So back to that, how is egg safe in cookie dough thing?
Yeah.
Right.
Just because somebody might ask.
Right. So if you haven't listened to episode 10 yet, it's called The Path to Self-Love. And Megan was on there, and we're doing a one-on-one coaching session. So Megan is a personal health and mindset coach. And she gets random texts from me, talking me down from the scale and all sorts of things. And I have friends and patients who have reached out to you and just absolutely love you. Like, you have a podcast. Oh my gosh. What's it called again? Fit and Fierce.
Yep. With the little ampersandy sign thing.
Yep. So the Fit and Fierce podcast is awesome. And our lives just kind of merge multiple times a year because I just really value your message and it resonates with me. And I'm like, I'm going to do what I want and bring on who I want. So I'm bringing on Megan again.
This is why you have a podcast. Like we already said, we don't have to show up and look. We can look like beautiful piles of crap.
Yeah, if you saw us right now, we look fantastic.
Yeah, we don't have to. I was saying a couple days ago, I thought prior to all of this, I had issues with like motivating to like get up and look like a real presentable human. Now this is just a whole new level. I have a like validating excuse not to have to. It's really bad.
The meme that keeps going around that resonates a little too close to home is the like try on real pants every couple days to make sure they still fit. Your stretchy pants will tell you all is right in the kingdom. And I'm like, last night, now it doesn't help that I'm menstruating this week. And so that's what I tell myself. But I told Kirby, I had to take off my yoga pants and I just sat on the couch in underwear and a top, like I Winnie the Poohed it, because he's like, are you hot? And I was like, no, my stretchy pants feel too tight. He's like, oh, and he's so sweet. But in my head, I'm like, yeah, I know. So, okay, I'm going to pray before we get into all of this because...
Sounds perfect.
Okay. Dear God, thank you so much for Megan, just in my life, and the message that she has and the platform that you've given her to impact so many women with such beautiful words and her experience. Thank you for both of our vulnerability in allowing us to just be real today talking about this, because there's a lot of women and men going through just chaos in life. And the more they grasp for control and refuse to surrender to what is going on, the messier this gets. And so I believe that you bring people together like this for conversations to help heal and move the needle, not to fix everything. We're not going to heal the world and what's going on in this, but to like give people that sense that they don't have control, but neither do we. And, any sense of healing that I can get from that. So thank you for whatever beautifulness you're going to bring out of this mess. And in your name we pray. Amen. Okay, so when I had to look back and I was like, okay, what episode did I have Megan on? Oh, episode 10. Like, wow, that was a long time ago. And like thinking about the conversations we had, I'm like, shit. If anybody listens to episode 10 right after this one, they're going to be like, has Lauren evolved at all in 6 months? Like, has she grown as a person? Is she still a crazy person? And I think the question is yes and. Or the answer is yes.
You can always be both. That has what I've decided in 2020. You can be both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's not as like, it's not as easy. It's not as linear as like, I am, but like, of course I'm better than that. But there's kind of this default programming that like we like to think we have all this control over. And like, well, if I was really better, so like in my mind, if I was really better, this chaos wouldn't be, this wouldn't affect me at all. And, you know, it's like, at all? Like, that's my level of like, have I evolved enough that like I am untouchable by the fucking coronavirus chaos that's going on? Like, it's kind of a high bar to set. So,
well, and also to be fair, something nobody has ever experienced before. So how can we say like, yes, we've been under stress. Like, yes, we've had things come up in our life, but how can we honestly say this shouldn't impact me? I've never fucking had any clue of what this life is. Nobody has. So how do I even know how to manage that? And why do I think that I have to like walk into it and have everything figured out? It's just not possible.
No. And like for both of us, I forget how old you are. You're 30.
34.
Okay. And so we were both like either college students or barely in the profession when the 2008 economic crisis happened. Like, you know, it's not like we lost, you know, like, did you own a house back then? Like, no. So like, nope. I had just entered chiropractic school. So I was just like, ugh, sounds like it's bad out there to be adulting. And then we were both in high school or middle school for 9/11, you know, the previous like kind of like, holy cow, the world is shutting down or America's shutting down and is freaked out. So this is kind of the first time that I'm an adult and having to like, you know, make sure that my kids are like, you know, not freaked out by this and that my employees are not freaked out by this. And so it's funny. It's funny, the response. So
there's a lot of layers.
There's so many layers to adulting. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So my main question is, how do I become someone who doesn't eat while stressed? I'm joking.
How do I become perfect at it?
Kind of. But you know these people, right? That they're like, oh my God, I don't know if I've really eaten in the last 3 days. And I'm like, you're serious? And they're like, yeah, I can't.
Not a world I can even comprehend. Ever.
And I know. Okay, we'll insert like the medical advice here that like, I actually understand that that is a serious thing. Yes, I'm not trying to make light of it. But let's be honest. In the end, we're going to be popped out like July 1st from all this mess. And they're going to look rocking in a swimming suit. And I'm going to be like, Corona hit me.
Yeah. No, I get it. And I think that goes to show too of that thing of if you're not on the same wavelength as somebody, it is really hard for somebody to understand. So for everybody out there that's listening that is like feverishly agreeing with us, like this is for you, ladies and gentlemen, or whoever it is. But like, we get it. We get it.
Yep.
Totally.
And then for those of you not eating, like just maybe stick to like high nutrient dense foods. Force yourself to eat one smoothie a day, maybe some almond butter and avocado. Yeah. You'll survive through this.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And so then I also want, before we like jump into like numbing and all of that and all the self-care, because my real question is like, how are we supposed to prioritize self-care through this? What does that look like? I believe in like giving real, like I think when we started talking, I gave everybody in episode 10, like, all right, so here's the deal. I am 5'8", I weigh this, because people just want to know like, okay, how bad actually, like, tell me the honest thing.
Yep.
So although I have not taken down a tube of cookie dough, although I've like joked about it.
Win.
Right.
Win. So can we celebrate that?
Yeah. But that's only because like, I'm like, Kirby, don't buy the cookie dough. Don't buy it. If it's in the house, it'll happen. Last night, Kirby and I did take down the end of a bag of Oreos, box of Oreos, whatever, and like a small bag of Doritos. So like, I'm not exactly on like a good level, but I haven't taken down an entire tube. And there were only like 12-ish Oreos in the bag. And it was a small bag, not like a teeny bag, but like not a giant bag. So like, and wine starts flowing pretty much the moment I get home, or I got home last night. And I just kind of come home now with this like, oh my God, like I survived another day thing. And last night Curb's like, you want a glass of wine? I'm like, nope, I'm going to drink some water first. So I waited until like 6:30 last night. But like, yeah, that's kind of what's been going on in the Brunswick household.
Mm-hmm.
And we've come
First
to
of all, I mean, you bring up so many positive things of just saying, okay, this is where I can say whatever happened on episode 10 to whatever happening today in March is so different. And this is because you're aware of that. You can say, I'm using these things to numb. Mm-hmm. And we need to deal with our emotions. The worst thing all of us can be doing right now is suppressing what we're feeling. Guess what? It is 100% okay to feel whatever you are feeling. If that's anger, if that's scared, if that's scarcity, if that's whatever it is, we're going to be so much worse off the more that we put ourselves in a container and say, I don't have to feel this, or I'm just going to use something to numb it. We can say, okay, yes, I am using to numb this. That's one coping mechanism that I have. But what else do I have in my toolbox? Because that's not going to help me in the long run either, to just rely on one of those pieces.
Yeah. And we did have this conversation last week, Curb and I did, where I was about consciously numbing. I said, like, this has got to count for something. We are both very aware that our eating and drinking has been amped up a level. So it's not like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just like, I don't know why I'm eating so much. Like, it's like, oh no, I am stress coping. So then is the next level actually feeling the feelings instead of eating the chips? Like, is that like
the next? Yeah, honestly, the next level, comes along with awareness. So that is hugely number one. And then what we do is we start to kind of put in some pattern interrupts in it's noticing, it's being aware, and then it's doing little tiny shifts to change that pathway in that brain. Instead of, I'm stressed, I numb, you did it last night without even knowing it. I came home, the wine starts flowing. No. Last night I came home and I had to give myself some water, and then the wine happened. Whatever we are doing our pattern interrupt for, if it is eating, if it is a certain food or wine, whatever, it's not ever telling ourselves that we can't have that. That's only going to make it worse. That's a whole level of restriction that just blows up. So it's saying, I'm going to do something else instead to break my pattern. And then I give myself full permission to have whatever it is that I'm wanting, that cookie dough, those Oreos, that wine. But when I do it, I have to be very mindful and present when I'm doing it. And that's the other thing that we tend to not do in that emotional space.
So like you can eat the Doritos. You're consciously aware that like I normally would never eat Doritos at 9:00 at night. We don't even own Doritos most of the time, but to like eat the Doritos, like to be present, like down. I am tasting these Doritos.
Yes.
Like if I'm going to numb or cope, I think I should probably use the word cope because numbing kind of has like this unconsciousness to it. Right.
Well, and ultimately, why did you want them?
Because I was stressed. Why? I don't know. Why do we, I want to talk about more pattern interrupts, but like, why do you have any idea? Why do we want food? Why is it food instead of feelings? Like, why isn't it exercise?
And we had talked about the difference of some, people who rely on food and other people who are like, I can't eat, I'm going to do something. And maybe it is healthy. Just because it's exercise doesn't mean it's healthy either. I've been in that space too. So whatever tool we are using to cope and numb has a very fine line of being helpful in being something that can be addictive or being destructive to us. But somewhere you said, why do we rely on food? It's going back to that pattern interrupt. Somewhere at some point in time in our life, we had a bad day. You were a kid. You had a bad feeling. You sat down after school and had a good conversation with your mom. And by chance, you were eating Doritos. They have nothing to do with each other. Nothing. But your brain is hardwired for pleasure. So it says, hey, I was sad. I had this Dorito. That made me feel good. Even though it actually didn't. It was the conversation you had with your mom. Now the brain says, when I'm sad, I want pleasure. I'm going to do this.
Well, and oh my gosh, how many times I don't really remember specifics for me as a child, but like, you know, if my kids had a really hard day, you know, like somebody was kind of being a bully, like, let's go grab some ice cream, honey. Like one-on-one time, like mom will take you to grab some ice cream, or like, I made you your favorite meal for your birthday. Like we use food so much to show love as parents and spouses, like, and so I guess yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, and I mean, shout out to my wonderful parents, but good God, food is like their love language. And just like, you just have to stop. Like, I'm an adult now. Like, please just stop. Yep. It is. And it's something that we as in cultures, food is celebrated. Like there's certain foods that we think of for certain things. That's why it can't be good or bad. Right. It's just a piece of it, but we have to know why we are choosing that action and take control over our choices versus just mindlessly going for something, thinking it's going to help when it is not what is going to help.
So you pointed out that the wait, I'm going to drink water before I pour wine. That's a version of a pattern interrupt. Can you give a couple more examples of
Totally.
Like, did they always have to be before? Like, yeah.
So that's one thing when this is a big, big piece with my one-on-one clients that we talk about, because emotional eating tends to be hardwired in most of the women that I work with. And that can be stress eating, that also can be in a larger scale of binge eating or however that looks like for them. But basically, when anytime we have a pattern interrupt, it's noticing, okay, I have this thought or I have this emotion that I want to reach towards something, whatever my triggering food. Mine's peanut butter. So it's like, I'm stressed. I want to eat peanut butter. It is happening before. It's saying, okay, I know that I want to have this. What is something easy and accessible that I can do? Don't say, I'm going to sit down and paint for 45 minutes, unless you have paints, you have an easel set up. Like you have something that's as easily accessible as grabbing that peanut butter out of the jar. Your pattern interrupt better be. Yours was simple. Okay, so I'm going to have water first. Great.
So it is like delaying it.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I am going to have the monster, but first I have to do this.
Yes. Yeah. And saying, and really mindfully in that space saying, I'm just pushing this out a little bit. I give myself full permission to do whatever I want after it. But if it is eating, if it is having a glass of wine, like you said, you better put it in a bowl. If it's food, you better sit down at the counter without your phone, without any distractions. You better taste it. You better because really what you're looking for is pleasure. And if we're mindlessly eating or chugging a glass of wine, we're not getting pleasure in that. That's numbing. Mm-hmm. But if we can show ourselves, brain, you can get pleasure from this, but you have to slow it down and be mindful, then we're using a tool successfully to make ourselves feel better.
So you don't put like a cap on the amount? You're just like, okay, monster, you can so you don't put rules around like, okay, you can have the cookie dough, but you only can have half a tube.
Does that feel restrictive though?
Well, I mean, it seems like it kind of seems restrictive. Like I tell my children they can't run in the street. Like, like, yeah, but
more of like a boundary instead of a hard rule.
Yeah.
So maybe for you that would fit better. I think everybody individually has to find what fits best for them. You could say, I'm going to have my actual serving. I'm going to taste it. And I better check in with myself. Am I tasting it? Am I smelling it? Am I enjoying it? And if I'm not enjoying it, do I need more? Because more is not going to make me enjoy it anymore.
Right.
And then maybe do another pattern interrupt. Say, okay, nothing is off limits, but maybe I need to go and eat some green beans and some dinner and some whatever. Maybe I need to do another pattern interrupt. And if I want, I can go back and have something else as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like I was listening to, gosh, I don't even know what podcast. It might be the You Made It Weird with Pete Holmes or something. But he was talking about how he read this book that talked about like overeating and over drinking. And it kind of referenced that like person or whatever inside of us that's like, yeah, have another drink. Yeah, eat the whole bag. Same thing. Like he's like, however the book was, it laid out that like that person does not care about your tomorrow, your overall being. Like it is just pure ego in that moment of like pleasure seeking. And it does not care about your health, your family, your goals, your life at all. It just cares about like self-indulgence. And so I'm thinking about like naming mine.
Like sometimes it's really helpful. It is to be like, hey, listen, bitch, you're not helping.
Yeah. But with the pattern interrupt, it's almost like forcing a conversation between the two of like, okay, we'll name her Felicia. Like, okay, Felicia, I get that you're going to get your peanut butter, but first we're going to have Lauren act like a normal human and eat some dinner with her family. And then you can have your peanut butter. And then you kind of realize, it's kind of that realization of like, oh, for a moment I had to like address like a certain part of me that I'm going to feed metaphorically and literally in a bit. And then it's kind of like, oh, that's weird. Like, and then you just start realizing like this bigger thing of like, oh, I'm not in control. Like, so I can see where the headspace of the pattern interrupt actually forces you being like, okay, you can have a second helping, but why do you want it and all that stuff, and like a healthy
it's
place.
Just time. It's just like giving yourself some time and space, because for me, when I am eating out of a place to numb or stressed or emotional, it's just like feverish. Like there's no stopping, there's no justification, there's no breathing. It's just like pound it down. And then it's like, well, God, why? Like I could still eat it, but can I slow down a little bit? Can I think about what I'm doing? And that's just that level of awareness for yourself that you have. I mean, that's the growth that you've had, Lauren, from episode 10 until now. It's just, okay, I'm a lot more aware of it. It doesn't mean that I'm not doing it. I still default to those patterns, and sometimes I'm like, yep, I'm emotional eating as I'm doing it. I'm like, whatever, but I'm aware of it. I can actually see it instead of it just being something I'm doing.
Yep. Yeah. And they're like that person, they just don't give a fuck. No. Like it is so crazy, so one of the things that I've definitely recognized is when I am restricting. So like lately I've just been really digging like eggs in the morning, and like, so like I start the day, like I don't even like creamer in my coffee, and I'm not doing it from a restrictive standpoint, but I start the day like, whoo, okay. So last night got a little out of hand, and I know I can eat a donut if I want to, but I legit don't want to. And so I start with this like very reasonable person, and I'm like, tonight it's not going to happen again. And then I get to that like 3 o'clock time slot. Thank God I'm still adjusting, because like, I don't know, people who are staying home, how you're not starting to drink in the beginning of the day. Like, so I'm like, okay, no, can't drink. Got to go adjust people. And then, I get home and I'm just like, that person just doesn't give the fucks that I do. And so pattern interrupt, just, I don't know, tell Felicia to sit down.
And you bring up a totally other space too that we haven't touched on that's really interesting, is this conversation that we have in ourselves and how we're setting ourselves up to fail immediately. And we don't even know that we're doing it. Like we are the worst self-sabotagers of all time for ourselves, is saying like, all right, okay, so yesterday didn't go as planned, but like, I'm going to be good today. And then the whole day, even though you're trying to do something good, in the back of your mind, you are thinking about how you are not going to mess up, quote unquote, at the end of the day. So that's subconsciously the conversation that we're feeding, instead of like, hey, today's going to be awesome. And like, I ate a great breakfast. I'm going to go adjust. And then when I get home, well, you're going to see what happens. Totally different subconscious thoughts than like, what do I have to do so I don't mess up again? What do I have to do so tonight goes well? Oh my gosh, it's going to be bad. I know it's going to be bad. Nighttime's bad. I better be good right now.
I'm manifesting. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm labeling that behavior as bad. And I'm not supposed to do that. I remember that. Like, it's like,
look at that.
Yeah. Because okay. No, this is good. Okay. So we talked a lot about food. Let's talk about, because it's me and you. Let's talk about the other like forms of self-care, and like, how is this looking like? How is this supposed to look like for people? Like, are they falling off the bandwagon? Like, is that labeling it as bad? Like, let's talk about more than just food.
Mm-hmm. I think a huge thing too is that we all have to sit back and realize great, this is a season of our life, as we talked about in the beginning. This is untouched territory for all of us, I'm assuming, or for 99% of the people. So guess what? Whatever happens, that's a phase in our life. And it does not mean that it has to continue when this is done. So being mindful of that too, of just saying, if things aren't going perfectly right now, I'm just going to sit and accept. You said it in your prayer. Like, we don't have to control it. We're going to sit and accept and surrender into this space and worry about whatever is outside of this space when we pop out of our homes in July.
So most people do not feel like working out right now. And then like my gym got closed, which I'm like, well, if that's not a sign from God, then no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'm very grateful to be a runner at this point in time.
Yes.
But so are you saying that you recommend, if you don't feel like working out, don't?
I think you have to have a very honest conversation. I think you have two things. I think you have to have a very honest conversation with yourself. You have to call it your own bullshit and saying, am I saying I don't want to work out? Because guess what? Like, I found myself in a space of like, I'm still working out because that feels good to me, but I'm doing things very, very differently. And actually I'm like, I'm kind of excited to do it different. Cause truth be told, I was kind of hauling my ass to the gym, doing the motions and like not really into it the last couple months. So like, what a really cool opportunity to try something different. For me, that's how it fits. But also for somebody too, I think you like, guess what? You're not going to feel good if you sit around. You're not. But does that mean that you have to do your full routine? No. Can you go out for a walk? Can you do some online yoga? I've seen more online options for working out in my life than I ever have before.
Yep.
So I think you have to be really honest with yourself and realize what is beneficial for you. Yep. And if it doesn't work, then we lead with the grace and the compassion of like, okay, so this didn't go as planned, fine, but what do I need to do going forward?
Yep. Do you have hacks like on days? Okay, so you've had this conversation and you're like, you're going to feel better when you work out. This. Actually, some of this whole, like in the last 2 weeks, some of the moments where I was at my worst, I just went for a run and, mid-run, I'm just like, oh, yes. You just like blast that music and it's like, this is everything. And then I told Kirby, like, I'm just going to leave my running clothes on. Maybe I'll just like go for a run. Yeah, that was cute. That was a cute thought that I thought like, I'll just put on running clothes every morning. And like, if I start getting stressed, I'll just find like 1.5 miles like loop and I'll just go for a run. He's like, that's a great idea. That's what I did. So in theory, I know I'll feel better if I do the thing. So you're at that point, you've had the conversation. Do you have hacks for like literally getting yourself from like, you're going to feel better if you work out to actually working out?
I think the biggest thing for all of us right now in working out falls into this huge, but for everything, make a routine. Be as a routine. We are creatures of habit. I bet if you were somebody who worked out before you went to work prior to this, it was really hard for you to get, it was just part of your regular routine. Or if you worked out on your lunch hour, or if you met a group at 5 p.m., where can you pull in that routine and keep some kind of structure. Working from home, being stuck at home, all this, it's really, we are creatures of habit and structure, and it's so hard when we're out of that. So find something for yourself.
That makes total sense, because like when I'm probably just going to repeat what you just said, but like, yeah. So most of us were leaving the house. We had it figured out in our life. Like I worked out Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 a.m. And then I got showered quick, got the kids ready, dropped them off, went to work, came home from work, took my makeup off, cleaned my face, cooked dinner, cleaned the kitchen, put the kids to bed. Like, and we did this thing. And now it's just like, I don't know, I don't have to wake the kids up because they don't really have to be to school. And why would I put on makeup? And like, not saying that that should be a part of the routine, but we're kind of just, what I've been experiencing. So like, I'm a big physical planner. Like I have a physical planner. I love my planner. Yep. I have Erin Condren this year. People are going to be upset by this, but it's not as good as the Passion Planner. I'm very sorry. You know what I might do? Because those things are damn $50. So you kind of like make a commitment. I might just, when kind of the dust settles from this, be like, ceremoniously get rid of my Erin Condren planner and just buy a brand new Passion Planner.
Your reward to yourself for surviving.
Like 2020 is going to be starting over June 1st or July 1st.
A new one.
New planner. Anyways, so that is a part of like, I think I did an entire episode about this where on like Sunday, it's very like, I have colors and I do this thing. Now the last 2 weeks, I'm like, I don't even know. I can only tackle one day at a time because I don't know what fires I'm going to need to put out. I don't even know if chiropractic, I mean, now we do know chiropractic, at least for the short term, is going to be still open. But it's like, I don't know, what kind of rules are they going to pass that's going to affect? And so I haven't been doing my planner. And so therefore workouts, like that was a big part of me of like, okay, I'm going to work out at 6 a.m. that day because I have meetings to rest, but I'll work out on my lunch hour that day and at 8 a.m. that day. And so like now we have to kind of figure out a plan, like a new plan. Like now that we kind of know, like, okay, at least until April 24th, this is going to be kind of what it is. It may go longer, but like, what is your Monday through Friday going to look like?
Yep.
Like,
and their accountability can be in that too. I actually have somebody that I love and she is not great. She wants like, she's committed. She's like, I'm going to get a morning routine and I'm going to do all this. And she hates it. So she has contacted people and they are her accountability people. And she like has a contract with them that she's going to pay them money for every day that she doesn't do what she said she was going to do. And she was like, I don't want to pay somebody $10 because I hit snooze 3 times and didn't get up and do what I wanted to do. So damn, I'm going to do
that
it.
Feeling you're feeling. So like kind of to tether it to like, I mean, I guess if that's a perpetual problem, but it's like, also, what if she just needs to rest right now? So like, why does she feel the need to wake up at 5 a.m. like, and do things that she doesn't want to do? Like, so I'm honestly talking out loud and I'm not judging because I'm like trying to get somewhere in my own head. So like, yeah, I wish that I spent time doing my devotion and reading and praying in the morning, kind of first thing. Or honestly, even like just reading a book, a fiction book. I don't care. Like, I wish that that's what I spent my morning doing. But what ends up happening is I end up like on the New York Post and on Instagram and on Facebook and in my inbox. And like, I spend that time, but like, I don't know if it seems weird to be like, all right, Kirby, well, not Kirby, somebody else, I'm going to give you $5 if you reach out to me at 9:00 and I haven't done my meditation and prayer. Like, I don't know. Like, do you really want to spend time with Jesus if you have to, like, if it's forced, you know, like, but I guess I would do it.
I think that's everybody's individual thing. And then, so yours, we can attach it to training for a run. Like, ultimately, that's basically what you do when you sign up for a half marathon, kind of in your own way of saying like, well, crap, I'd better do my long run.
Yeah, because I would never do 10-mile runs. I don't like 10-mile runs. Like,
every time I finish a race, I say like, I'm so proud of myself. I'm going to keep this up and do one long run every week. Fuck no, I don't do that.
I know, I do too. Yep.
4 sounds a lot better than 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not running.
That. Okay, that is
because for you that fits. For her, that was something else. And I think for everybody, then they have to find individually what is that space for them, and what do they really want, truly want, because it feels good and it will give them something back.
Because I do truly, okay, it's about like, what do you need to do to be disciplined?
Yep, for you.
Yeah.
And also then saying, maybe that doesn't have to be every day. You don't do a long run every day, but having some parameter with what you're doing. Okay, for everybody who's struggling working out, can you say there has to be, for me, or whatever that is, for me, it feels good to commit to 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. I can pop them in any day, but what is my, not consequence, I don't like that word, but what is the repercussion if I don't do them? Is it because I was tired and I needed sleep, or was it because I stayed up all night binge watching Netflix and I didn't want to do stuff?
Right. So I don't know if we did answer the question though. Like, okay, so I know I want to work out 3 times a week. I know I'll feel better if I work out. Do you like do the fake it till you make it? Like, okay, I am putting so like right now I'm supposed to go for a run after, and it's beautiful out. So I'm kind of excited about it, but there's still a part of me that would rather just sit and watch Frozen 2 again. And so I'm like, all right, I had to put on clothes for this interview. These are clothes I chose these clothes for you. And I'm like, well, I'm going to put on a sports bra. Like I'm going to put on my workout clothes. So I am one step closer. So then all I have to do is pop the headphones in and put the shoes on. But there are days where I put on the workout clothes and they come off at the end of the day and they did not get worked out in. That hack didn't work.
So one of my biggest hacks that I have everybody do when they say that they have a goal is we break that down into the most minute way to win your goal. Because if you're saying, okay, I'm here, I'm going to work out 5 days a week, and that's new to you, or that's not realistic for you right now, you're setting yourself up to fail by setting yourself up with something that is not truly attainable for you. And then that is that rewiring of that brain. Like it all comes back to that brain saying like, I told you weren't going to do it. Like, here we go again. Here's proof again that she said it again.
This week is going to be better than last week.
Yes. Yep. So then it's really saying to yourself, truly, what is the tiniest thing that you can do to win that goal? Maybe your goal for your week is 3 days a week. I'm going to go and I'm going to put my shoes on and I'm going to walk for 1 minute. I don't even care. Like literally all you have to tell yourself is I'm going to do 1 minute. Then if you do 1 minute, guess what? You crushed it. And if you did 10 minutes or 30 minutes, now you're an overachiever instead of failing. Like I bet you can do something for 1 minute. Like that opened my eyes when somebody said something to me like, I commit to myself, I'm going to floss 1 tooth. Well, I bet when you get your damn floss out and you do 1 tooth, you're just going to do the rest of them.
I don't floss.
And I think of that too when I floss. I'm like, I just have to do 1. Like I honestly, like my goal is to floss 1 tooth. Well, you're not going to do 1. And if you do, guess what? You won.
You won.
That's all you said.
There is such a different mindset of, because I worry like on the day where I would actually do 1 minute. And I'm like, there, I did it. I feel like I would still beat myself up of like, yeah, but you actually set that goal anticipating you were going to overachieve.
Well, then maybe your goal needs to be 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it needs to be 10. Maybe it needs to be, like something that is actually like not bottom of the barrel attainable, but like,
I hear you. Yeah.
Just like drop that standard and expectation of ourselves.
Yep. Where it's like, hey, like, okay. Yep. That makes sense. I like that a lot. Back to the feelings.
Yeah.
Do you feel feelings? What's your Enneagram?
Okay. We need to have a conversation. I never remember. And every time we talk about this, I was like, my Enneagram people are going to come at me. I am the one that needs a ton that is rooted everything in safety and security. Like every single thing I do.
I think that's a 6.
I think it's a higher number.
The numbers don't mean anything good or bad. So,
no, I know, but like, no, not higher number in that, but like, I think it's like a closer to a 9. Like, it's like that higher number. Yeah. Everything I need is safety and security.
Yep. I bet. Yeah, I could see.
And I was really pissed because I was like, well, I should be the one that's a perfectionist.
Oh my God. Okay. Everybody does that with an Enneagram, where they're like, oh, I don't want to be this one. I want to be that one. So like,
that's not true. And then I was like, oh, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just kind of assume that you're a 6 for this. 6s, I think, kind of feel feelings, but like, is it easier? Like, you kind of talked in the beginning about like a lot of this comes back to like, we do these things because we don't want to feel feelings. So we're seeking pleasure instead of sitting and crying. I would, again, this goes to like, my conscious brain goes like, oh, I would rather cry than consume 400 calories right now. Like, but it doesn't work. I can't I don't feel like, how are there feelings inside of me that I'm like, no, I'll feel them. I'll feel them. Like, I would rather feel them than like binge eat right now, but they're not there.
Because then we just don't really want to feel it. Like, ultimately, in the same way that I wanted my Enneagram to be another number, like, that's just not it. We can talk a good game. Being aware, growing that level of awareness is huge. I hate my own feelings. I hate them. And there's been a lot of therapy to work me through that's not a great way to deal with life. And it's helpful. But sometimes I think, for me, I guess I'll say I'm very rooted in certain feelings that kind of tend to be the driver of a lot. Like I said, I need safety. I need security. Like, fear is a huge, huge one of my feelings that I will do anything to just not sit in or to not be. But I know that's a driver of mine.
Yeah. Oh, so like we just talked, boom, we are the greatest podcast ever. We just tied so many conversations together with the Enneagram. A lot of like the basic, like when you're describing it, each of the 9 types are like, it's basically what your underlying root fear is. Mm-hmm. So for me, okay, so I just said like, well, I'd rather cry than eat peanut butter, yet I want to eat peanut butter. It's not that for me, like sadness isn't the emotion. It's, I would have to sit in the fear that everything I built for the last 33 years might fail. Mm-hmm. And it might in 6 months, 3 months be nothing. Well, I mean, I'll still have my chiropractic degree, hopefully. Like, you know, okay, and my children and my husband, but like,
but in a non-logical
like,
way.
Yeah. But my business, my success, like, and that's where an evolved 3 would be like, but what really is success? And then be like, oh yeah, my family. Okay. So even in my head, I'm like kind of bouncing between them.
Totally.
But like the raw part of me is like, no, the feeling isn't like, I'm sad tonight that I would have to process. I would have to sit and process like, why you want to emotionally eat is because your underlying fear is not being successful in life. And if something, air quotes, everybody who can't see this, as simple as coronavirus could take down everything you've spent the last 10 years of your profession and career building, are you really successful? Mm-hmm. And that does make me want to cry a little bit. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm looking at the like emotion of like, well, I'll just cry then, fine. I'll just cry and I'll feel better. And it's like, you might, if you actually address the underlying thing that would make you cry. And it's like,
oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's good stuff. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, so are you being perfect?
No. Like, I thought I was.
You're a mental health and mindset coach.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, yeah, I totally have it. No, I'm not. And it was so funny because actually the same conversation that I walked you through, I had to have with myself of like, I am hanging with my family. So a different scenario. And that used to be a really, really, really dark and triggering space for me. And so the first few days I was like, wow, like you're doing good. Like you're just like going about your normal routine. Like you're not triggered with anything. And the more I kept saying that, then yesterday I was like, I'm going to just eat all the things and like, I'm going to do all the stuff. And then last night I was like, well, yeah, because you built it up in your head. Like you were going along fine till you started.
You were calling it good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's me being
good behavior is not bad behavior. It's just is.
Yep.
All right. So I hate this question, but what is kind of like your piece of advice for us when it comes to this health and mindset over the next month or two?
Mm-hmm. I think be aware of what you are feeling and do not suppress what you are feeling, and give yourself, slow down, breathe. We again get in that feverish state over and over and over again of just go and anxiety, and that just builds and builds and builds. So just slow the fuck down, take a breath, and come back to what in your life makes you feel grounded, what makes you feel centered, and what makes you feel normal, and do that. Do that. That is important. Like if you're going to do anything for self-care, you figure out what in your life is your grounding, your roots, and you better be doing that.
I love it. Tell people where they can find you and get more of you.
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram. It's Fit and Fierce, all one word, but it's 2 T's. So FITTANDFIERCE. And I'm like, oh, I hope I'm spelling that right. You'd think I would know it by now. And then my podcast is Fit and Fierce, and that's where every major podcast can be heard and listened to these days.
Awesome. Yeah. Megan, thank you so much for giving me your time today. I know everything is very chaotic, and I really do truly appreciate it. Every time I talk with you, you have such a real take on things. Like you blend the woo woo, like you're like my soul sister, because it's like you get in this woo woo, but like also like you say fuck. And so I just really appreciate you.
Well, thank you. And same to you. And thank you for nonstop giving me a platform to share. I appreciate that. And the same. And for the messaging that you're giving to people, and more than anything, Lauren, for actually showing up and being raw and vulnerable, because it's icky and that doesn't feel good, but that's why people love you and are drawn to you, because it's no bullshit, and that's who it is, and that's how life is. So thank you for that too.
You're so sweet. All right, She Slayers. So there you go. Pattern interrupts. Love yourself. Find something that like works. Set small, reasonable goals. Reach out to Megan if you have questions. She's so helpful. It's so amazing. She's currently apparently living at her parents' for a short amount of time. So you've got a short window.
Unless all of you, oh no, you will listen to this on Sunday. Like you could come move my stuff for me if you would want to.
Yeah.
But
she's moving out of her parents. There's a deadline. Don't worry.
Saturday. So if you guys are free Sunday and want to come help me rearrange stuff, come on over.
All right, She Slayers. Until next week. I love you all so much. Bye.